Football Show, NorthJerseySports.com's original multimedia series talking all things football across North Jersey. This is Season 6, Episode 7, but we are still kind of on cloud 9 after what we experienced last night in the shed of Hasbrook Heights head coach Nick Del Calzo. I am Corey Doviak, being joined by my illustrious panel of now traveling panel of experts, starting with the venerable one. Hello again, Jimmy Avatabile.
What's up, Cor? I wanted to take a ride down the boulevard in Hasbrook Heights to find out where that pork store was. I couldn't find it, though.
The Boulevard Pork Store will remain with me as for the rest of my days. And also joining us, another man, the guy who brought a lot of accoutrements to the shed in Nick Del Calzo's backyard. He is the head Husky. He is Brian Carr. What's going on, Bri?
Hey, it was a great night last night to be in the shed. It was an exciting time with two big coaches. So still enjoying that. A good show with those guys. It was fun.
Yes, and thinking ahead, Bri, with the bottle of wine. I mean, really, classy on your part.
So I told Nick because, hey, Nick, I knew he's Italian. So I said, Nick, I'll bring a bottle of Italian wine. And he said, sure, go ahead. We enjoyed that bottle. We enjoyed that little bottle. It was nice.
Yeah, no, it was a great time. And it took us out of our usual pattern here of discussing all things high school sports in North Jersey. So we figured we owed the listenership and ourselves a chance to talk about some of the other things that happened last weekend, preview some of the stuff that's coming up this weekend. Our regular show here, not from the shed, but from the world headquarters of NorthJerseySports.com here. And I want to start with where the action was last weekend. And you had to be there, I guess, Brian Carr, because you were Paramus 35, Ridgewood 34 in an overtime thriller, old school public school football. And Paramus is, they've separated themselves from the rest of the pack. Whether they're in with the top couple of dogs is still to be determined, but they certainly look like they're putting themselves in that class.
Yeah, one thing I could say, it was my third overtime game in basically a week. From the week before, we saw Ramapo play Riverdale, and then that's last weekend, not this past weekend, the week before we saw New Milford Lyndhurst go to overtime. So it's pretty exciting times getting into overtime. I was planning, my schedule was a plan to go there early, 6 o'clock kickoff, and then head over to Emerson. But, the game seemed to be interesting, and even with Paramus going up 21-0 at halftime, and then you had Ridgewood come back and score a touchdown early in the second half, and it got really exciting. And it was kind of like the Ramapo Riverdale game week before, where both teams could score at any moment. One thing I'll say before we finish here, the Spartans, it's the first time ever at 6-0, so that's a pretty good achievement for them, and a long time of 60-some years of football there played in Paramus. But it was a really good game. I mean, don't dismiss Ridgewood. Ridgewood was in it to the end. We went to the end. Ridgewood, they both scored in overtime, and it just happened to be that Ridgewood missed the extra point in overtime to lose the game. But stars on both sides. The two guys that are stars for Paramus, the quarterback, Bob, he can run at any moment. I think he had 179 yards. And then Jacob had another 90. That's right on their record. They normally have been averaging about 275 a game, and that's what they did. So right on target. Ridgewood did very well. Quarterback was pretty solid. And their receivers and running backs were running all over the place. Tom Bork receiving was like 9 for 190, 2 touchdowns. And then Will Purdue was like 22 for 151 rushing. So they were all over the place, and it was an exciting game. It's fun to be there, and that's what we like. I like and I enjoy it. But Ridgewood, I think they have a big game coming up this week. They travel to Clifton, undefeated Clifton. So that'll be a true test of where they're at. And they'll need to probably win that game to help their playoff position.
Yeah, I mean, Ridgewood's 2 losses this season to Old Tappan on the road and to Paramus on the road. So, no shame in that. And both of them, couldn't get any closer against Paramus, and they stuck with Otapan too. So, all right, so you got some great sound from there. Which one do you want to start with? First of all, you want to start? Here we go. Quarterback Trevor Bopp, who you mentioned, had a great night for the Paramus Spartans, a junior, and playing well. So let's get his thoughts after the game against Ridgewood.
Trevor, talk about the game. Exciting game over Ridgewood.
Oh, we know it's our crosstown rival. We knew it was a huge game coming into it, and the whole week of practice, we had a great week, and it came down to it. We got off to a good start, but we knew they would battle the whole game, so we just battled the whole game.
Momentum went back and forth. You guys up, seemed like you had a good lead, 2 scores, and then they came back, scored 2 touchdowns, tie it.
Yeah.
So what were you thinking when you went to overtime?
We went to overtime. I knew that we had to score first, put the pressure on them, and it ended up working. They missed the PAT, and we won.
The big touchdown pass in overtime, what were you thinking on that play? You threw it to number 1 over there in the corner?
I had to bait the corner, and I knew he would be wide open, and I threw it to him, he was wide open.
How does it feel to be 6-0?
Feels great.
Yeah. To beat Ridgewood, too?
Even better.
All right, good stuff there with Trevor Bopp, the Paramus quarterback. And then Brian also caught up with the head coach of the Spartans, Joey Sabella. So let's hear what Joe Sabella had to say after the win over Ridgewood.
Where'd Trevor Bopp come from, man? He's a junior. Just, when the game got tight and you needed it was Kyle Jacobs show and the Trevor Bopp show.
Yeah, those are 2 guys that, we said if we're going to get this thing done, our offense runs through them, and we feel comfortable with both of them. I think it's a 1-2 punch that we have, and, that they showed up. Trevor, we knew he was going to be special when he was young. He just came on a little faster than we, and luckily came on faster than what we thought. And Kyle is just a pound for pound. He's a fantastic runner. And those 2 guys, we said when we needed a score, we're not going to change what we do. And we're just going to give it to those guys and let us take us in.
What was Trevor's role on the team last year? Was he a JV quarterback?
Trevor was a JV quarterback and actually started in week 7. We made the change. He was a sophomore. Nick Taraboki did a great job for us. He started, the year before. So Nick started the first couple games, and we saw, what we had with Trevor, and we got him the experience that we wanted to last year, and then we let him take it over this year.
Can you just talk about that touchdown pass from Trevor to McKinney?
Well, we knew they were going to stack the box. I think, with how we run the ball, we actually ran a dummy count to see how they were playing us. And when we saw the safety over the middle of the field, we thought we would be able to outflank them to the edge. Thankfully, Trevor just threw an unbelievable ball.
Talk about Kyle Jacobs. I was talking on the sideline of his brother, Bryce, and I told Bryce that Kyle looked like Bryce.
Well, yeah. It's a special family. Bryce was an unbelievable player in his own right, but I think it's Kyle is just he's next in line, and he's making a name for himself, and that's special.
6-0. Were you expecting 6-0?
I thought we could be good. I thought we could be pretty good. 6-0. Looking at our schedule. It's a pleasant surprise. But these kids put in the time and they put in the work and they bought into the system, and it's paying off for them. And that's what we say. Hard work pays off, and it's paying off for them.
Is Trevor exceeding expectations?
I think he is. I think there's still a lot more of Trevor to go. He's still young. He's got another year and a half. And, I hope he gets better every week.
Talk about Ridgewood. I think that was a meaningful game in your schedule. One of your probably the top team in your schedule. Just talk about Ridgewood and what they did here today.
Of course. Paramus and Ridgewood goes back, many, many years. That program is top notch, and we have the utmost respect for them. And even last year, in my first year, we go down there and we go into overtime with them. So it's a great, I think, rivalry. I think it's back, but we give them a ton of respect every time we play them. What they do there is special, and we're just, hey, this year it was Paramus' turn.
Interesting, it came down to the extra point again, huh?
Of course. He could have went for 2 like we did last year, right. and he went for the 1. Chuck's such a great coach, and he's been doing it for so long, and he's got a great kicker. That guy, he might have missed, but it was 40 yards pass. But
missed 1 kick all year.
He missed 1 kick. He missed 2 today. So, the emotions, the fans, there's a lot of pressure on these high school kids. Great atmosphere, and thankfully it came out in our favor.
Actually, the pressure is what I'm talking about. 21-14, you're losing the momentum. Okay, you guys go out on offense. What'd you tell your guys as you're heading on the field?
We have talent. We have athleticism and we have talent. We're focusing on our mental, on the mental side of the game, and The big thing today was, if things don't go well, we got to stay strong. And there were times where we were almost, about to lose it and our heads dropped and things like that. But we believed, we stayed positive, and we got the job done.
All right, Brian, good job there. Jumping in with Joey Sabella. And then the last interview you have from there is a former Paramus Spartan. Oh, wow. I believe he went to 2 state finals with the Spartans. Pascack Valley one year.
Jacob.
Yeah, Bryce Jacob. And who they lost to Pascack Valley one year. Was it Pascack Valley both years? Does anybody remember?
It had been both years.
Yeah.
Look it up real quick if we had to.
Yep.
Yeah, but Bryce, I interviewed him 4 years ago when he was senior over at Paramus, and I followed him. He's been up at Assumption. He's the leading tackler on their team and doing a good job, and the team is playing very well. They have a number of North Jersey kids, a kid from Hackensack there. You have Jimmy, I forget his last name, from up in your neck of the woods. Jimmy, the center of Joe's, was up there for quite a long time. Jimmy M. was it McNerney? Jimmy
yes,
McNerney,
yep.
Was up with him at Assumption as well. And Jimmy did very well. He was up for some big awards as offensive center for them. But Assumption's been having pretty good football up there, and he's a leading tackler. And his brother looks just like him. And we'll hear. I mentioned that to Bryce, and he looks like his brother Kyle, who's a junior running back for Paramus and Tracy.
Yeah, and a fun fact, too, Assumption College getting all kind of attention this year because the place kicker for LSU, who kicked the winning field goal against Auburn, is an Assumption grad transfer. So, Assumption football in the news. Let's hear what Bryce Jacob had to say about it, talking to our very own Brian Carr.
Brian Carr here, North Jersey Sports, on the sideline of Paramus. I'm here with Bryce Jacobs. He's now a senior at Assumption College, linebacker. His brother's playing tonight, Kyle Jr. for Paramus. Talk about what you think about your brother. How's he doing?
Yeah, he's doing really well. It's a great game here. The whole Paramus team looks like they're well put together, and they're really showing it tonight.
I said earlier,
Kyle's running strong behind their strong offensive line, and they're looking really good.
He looks like you out there, I said. What do you think?
Yeah, he's been working hard all offseason with his strength and speed, so it looks like it's showing off tonight.
Right. Talk about college. How's college life? You're a senior now at Assumption.
Yeah.
Worcester, Mass.
It's crazy. It goes by real fast, but season's going real well. We're 4-1 right now. Right. We got a bye week this week, and then the next 5 weeks will be tough, but we're working real hard up there, and we're ready to go for the next 5 weeks.
I tweeted a tweet this week. You're the leading tackler for the team.
Yeah.
I know there's other players on the team, but talk about being a leading tackler on your team, and I know you've done a good job up there the last couple of years.
Yeah, we just have an all-around great defense. It starts with, obviously, the defensive line. And, everyone's making plays up there, and that's all that matters. The stats don't matter as much as the W's.
Team win, yeah.
All right, Brian. Good stuff there. Good to hear from Bryce Jacobs, still plying his trade up there in Worcester, Mass, doing a great job for Assumption College. And let's take a look around some more publics from the North New Jersey Super Football Conference. Jimmy, what stuck out to you from this past weekend?
A team that had a lot of accolades coming in the season was Northern Highlands. They played a tough schedule early. They lost to Clifton. They lost to Old Japan, and they seem to be back on track. They went out. They beat Bergenfield pretty decisively the other day to get themselves back in that playoff, on the bubble there. They have Teaneck this Saturday night. We always like to go to a Teaneck game at 6 o'clock right on the highway there. If they could come out with that, they put themselves in a position to, possibly qualify for a state playoff push. I know they were disappointed the way their season started, but, if they can, win this one, they have a good opportunity to make the playoffs.
Yeah. Yep, it's a good front-loaded schedule too, and it's hard to. Yeah. There's not that many power programs around this year, just the way it has fallen, and they seem to run up to against all of them in the first couple of weeks. So, good bounce back. Obviously, a good job of coaching, keeping the kids together and going week by week. How about you, Bry? Anything else around the former?
I mean, the other thing that's going on is you have the big game coming up this Friday, and those two teams, you got Wayne Hills, Ramapo traveling to Wayne Hills on Friday, and going into that, Ramapo kind of had a good win over Teaneck. Had a couple subs. You had the quarterback replacing A.J. Winfield, who was out for the game, who's currently, they say, questionable for the game against Hills. But Chris Verano had a really good game. He was 10 for 15 and 320 yards, 4 touchdowns. And wide receiver Max Baker was all over the place, too, with 6 catches for 252 yards and 2 touchdowns. So Ralpo is, flexing the muscles and getting some stats. And Wayne Hills, on the other hand, you have Tom Sharkey, the quarterback, had 4 TDs and a win over Passaic Valley, 45-12. So the only loss for Wayne Hills is the one game they lost. They lost by a touchdown out in Utah at the beginning of the season. Yeah, in Utah. So, that should be a good game, rivalry game, and looks like that's what I'm thinking about going up there Friday night to see that. That should be a good tilt, renewal of that rivalry up there.
Yeah, that is definitely the highlight game this Friday night, and you will prove yourself to be a true dyed-in-the-wool high school sports junkie if you are willing to make the walk from the parking lot to the field at Wayne Hills, Brian.
Right. Yeah, I like walking, so I don't mind walking. It's just a little bit of a walk, but it's okay. Well, we can walk. Hey, I heard there was a good game in Dumont, not to shift gears too much. Dumont, no, I'm just giving credit. I got an inside scoop from Mr. Ryan Botto, the former St. Joe alum. Ryan went to the game. He says they look pretty good, and I hear talk that they played a good game, and they only lost 22-19. It was a competitive game, and they had the ball, and I think they even missed a field goal to tie. So, you got to give him credit. Matthew DeVito had like 12 tackles for the Huskies, and I know Ramsey had a pretty good game as well. So, hey, we got to support the Huskies, and, some tough schedule. Ramsey's a good team, Marwa before that. So they're getting better. That's what it's all about. Coach Bird, it's his second year, and they're going to get over the hump, and we expect that to happen here maybe another year or two.
Yeah, they're 2-3 now. A chance to even up this week on the road at Fort Lee. Then Lakeland, that's a tough task. Lakeland, a team that we talk far too little about. And, maybe we got to get maybe some Passaic County action on the show in the next couple of weeks, too. Dumont with it, and then finish with Pascack Hills and on Thanksgiving against Tenafly. It could be a real good year for Dumont.
And they have a consolation game probably. They probably won't make the playoffs. They'll probably have a consolation game that they have a chance to win. So they could probably get to 500, which, I'd like to see them get over that. But You're right, Lakeland's going to be a tough team for them. Lakeland right now is sitting at 5-1. They have one loss, only by 1 point.
Yep.
They kind of dismantled Westwood pretty handily at 42-8, and Fort Lee was no problem. Lakeland's going to be a tough opponent for sure for them. But Lakeland will have to watch them. They play Pascack Hills this week, and then the big game for them will be they got to go to Mawa, the last game of the season. For them, the last game of the regular season, 26th of October, they play Mawa at Mawa. So maybe that's a game to circle on the schedule and maybe go up there.
Well, that's one of the things that came out of the conversation we had in the shed last night is that Bear, the assistant coach at Hasbrook Heights, was, he's a math teacher too, a very smart guy, and he was telling me that he had, broken down the PowerPoint system the way the, United, whatever it's called. What do they call it now? PowerPoint's calculation, the United Power Index or whatever. And he had it all figured out. He started to explain to me, my eyes glassed over. I'm a man of words, not of numbers. And, he's like, and then, latitude and longitude and from the front door and all these kind of things. Listen, I get it. We want to make it fair. We want to make it equitable. But I wish I could talk about the playoffs, but I don't know what the heck's going on. I really don't. And it's too bad because I'm dumb and it's a smart man's game, obviously, to try to figure out who's going where in the state playoffs. So I'm just going to wait till the brackets come out and we'll talk about it on the show. That's the way we're going to do it. All right. That's the North Jersey Super Football Conference on the public school side. Now let's get to Jimmy Avatabele's favorite subject, the NJIC. Now, last week on this air, we all promised to be in attendance for Park Ridge going for that final playoff spot against Emerson on the road. 2 small-town rivals going at it. I was sidetracked while shooting Demarest Senior Night in a 41-0 win over Cliffside Park, which I stayed for exactly 1 quarter and then plopped myself home on the couch. Brian Carr got entranced by the shiny objects happening at Ridgewood and Paramus. So the lone guy who followed through on his pledge was Jimmy Avatabile, and Park Ridge 27, Emerson 21. We now know the Final Four in the NJIC. Jimmy, take it away.
Yeah, you mentioned, Corey, that game, both undefeated teams, interesting dynamic when they play each other in football because of their co-op in wrestling.
Right.
So you have kids that are teammates in wrestling that are going at it in football. Very interesting dynamic. Really nice environment the other night. Nice crowd. And, quite honestly, the difference in the game was the quarterback for Park Ridge, former running back. They put him in the gun now, a wildcat type of look. Vinny Pinto. A poor man's Johnny Langan, very athletic, nice size, good speed, very elusive. He was the difference in the game. Emerson had a tough time tackling him. They were up 2 touchdowns late in the third quarter. Emerson, undefeated, fought their way back to make it a 6-point game, 27-21, and actually had fourth and goal from about the 10-yard line there with a chance to win the game. It's nice to see that type of game where everything's on the line. Obviously, the NJIC semifinal spot was up for grabs. Park Ridge intercepted the 4th down pass. They will move on to play Hasbrook Heights. At Hasbrook Heights, not this Friday, the following Friday. So, the Park Ridge defensively very aggressive, loves to blitz. I think it's going to be a really, really good game on Hasbrook Heights. I think, as they say in boxing, styles make fights. I think these are 2 teams that are going to be very, very evenly matched. So it should be a really, really good semifinal next weekend.
Vinny Pinto, I didn't even realize that he played quarterback at Park Ridge for that game that you saw. And just when you mentioned his name, I went back and looked, and I covered a baseball game last year, Waldwick at Park Ridge. Waldwick was real good, and Vinny Pinto had the double that broke the that drove him the winning run for Park Ridge. So, and he was just a sophomore then. Obviously, a kid not afraid of the big moment. That was a big game in the baseball season, and it's carried right over for him. Love to see the small school kids playing multiple sports and being effective in whatever way they can at them. So, great job by Vinny Pinto. The other thing that I have to commit to here is obviously a guy that we need to have on the show is Tom Curry Jr. What a great job he's done. A great hire by my friend Chris Brown over there at Park Ridge, and Tommy Curry Jr. Really, Park Ridge, it's tough. Every Group 1 job is a tough job, and he's done a great bit of coaching and reestablishing the program after the tragic passing of longtime head coach Gary Miola.
Yeah, Park Ridge is a pretty good program up there. I followed him back when my buddy's son played there. Ryan Fallon played up there a few years back. Park Ridge is been a consistent competitor on the football field. And, obviously Tom Curry, who has some roots, his father, Tom Curry Sr., he's the athletic director over at Bergenfield. So there's some, and he also, I think, is a basketball coach in Secaucus, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
I think that's his other case.
Yes, he is.
But, good program. Tom's done a good job. I mean, he was always been winning the last couple of years. He's plus 500 the last 3 years. So, and this year, obviously, 6-0. So he's got the Owls in a good place, and it's good to see them. Not to change the subject too much, but we have the other side of the bracket there. You got New Milford, Rutherford. I recall last year, I think you were there, Jimmy, right? When we saw New Milford go up by a few scores. It was like 27-7, and Rutherford came storming back and won that game. It was quite a turn of events in that game. So I'm sure New Milford, the Knights, would like to reverse that. They do have to go on the road this time to go down to Rutherford. But Rutherford brings back the same guys. A lot of the 3 stars are back. The quarterback, Kyle Russell. It's what's that?
Abdelini. Abdelini.
Yeah,
Kevin Kozakowski, Jimmy.
Right. And then my buddy Lawson Fisher on the line. Lawson Fisher is a pretty big guy. I like Lawson.
Yeah, he was a good player.
That's going to be a good game. And New Milford obviously has got, I haven't heard anything on there. A couple guys are out. Hopefully they get Ryan Picnic back, and the quarterback Mackey is back as well. So, and that should be a good game. New Milford had a pretty good win over Secaucus. that helped them, go into this game. So that should be fun. Now, the only comment I'll make, and we've been talking about it, it'd be nice if they would have staggered these two games so people get to see both games, the semifinal games, but they're both playing at the same time. So it's a little, we'd like to see them stagger them or play one on Friday, one on Saturday, so let everybody get to see everybody. Right?
Yeah, a couple
them at the same time. So
I think the Friday-Saturday has a better shot. I mean, I've been, stumping every NJIC athletic director or coach I say, yeah, you guys should do, and probably tired of hearing from me, but we got they were receptive to it last night. Actually, Bear was talking about maybe make it a rotating venue. 1 year it's the Meadowlands Division champion. 1 year you can go around is the host, and you could play those two games there. I like the Friday-Saturday idea. And the other NJIC athletic director that I spoke to last week, he said they just, they want that big game atmosphere, by making it one team's home game on their usual nights or whatever. But, I think it will draw no matter what. So, excuse me.
If Hasbrook Heights can get through, the final will be at Heights. So that should be an exciting atmosphere.
Yeah, and Heights is, there might be a year where Heights isn't in it or whatever, but, maybe like, watching Texas, Oklahoma this past weekend, they play that game, right in the middle of the county fair. Let's pick a spot right on 17. Hasbrook Heights is the, we were going through the archives last night with Nick Del Calzo, and it's been, we were seeing pictures from the 1938 team and all those kind of things. So that's where really, Friday night football began in Bergen County. Maybe make that the home office of the NJIC playoffs. At least that would be my vote. It's a great place to watch a game anyway. So, although
what you got to do
parking is rough.
Wait for the national anthem. You have to wait for the national anthem and then climb over the fence, right?
Yes.
And you pay 50 cents so you can buy a hot dog. Right?
What did Tall say about Del Calzo yesterday? He's got short arms and he still has his communion money.
That's right.
It's amazing what happens when you play on the team sponsored by the Boulevard Pork Store when you're 8 years old and you're still friends 50, 60 years later. It's so great. All right. Anyway.
We talked about that.
Anything else in the NJIC? I mean, now with all the they can take a deep breath over there now with the semifinals determined. Be interesting to see when the rest of the schedule comes out. I don't know if they've done that yet, but I think some teams still have some games to play, right, to get to 6 before they announce who's playing who in the other games for the final 2 games of the regular season. Is that correct?
Yeah, no question.
This week. Yeah.
Right.
Guys, I have to correct something that we said while we were going off the air last week. I got a couple of calls from my fellow Lodi-ites the other day. They defeated Palisades Park. We had said that Palisades Park had beat Lodi. Obviously, Lodi did win that game. I think a score was inadvertently sent out that Palisades Park had won, but it was Lodi. Lodi, as you know, lost 2 very, very tight games, a 6-5 game to Garfield, another tight game to Waldwick to start off 0-2. They've come on, they won their last 3, and then they lost to Rutherford, so they're 3-3 right now.
Denied, Jimmy. Denied. Tell your Lodi friends that if it was any other team that the mistake was made, besides Palisades Park Leonia, I would gladly issue a retraction. But since it said somewhere on the internet that Palisades Park won that game, I'm sticking to it. Sorry, Lodi boys. I know.
I said that, right? I think I had said that.
I don't care who's. I don't care who said it.
That was me.
Somebody said it, and I'm sticking to it. All right, let's move on here. Our last order of business tonight is the craziness that has been going on, since the Big North United Conference was created there. The non-public division now inside the North Jersey Super Football Conference, and who knows who's going to win any week. Who knows who's whoever wins that week is number 1 in the state. The teams playing in the best 2 games, the winner of that is number 1 in the state. It's crazy what's going on. And Brian, you were there for a celebratory day, at least a pregame and everything leading up to it, at the newly christened Tony Karsich Field there in Montvale. You take it from there.
I think that it was a great day. You know, Tony Karsich, longtime coach, most winningest coach in Bergen County history. They named the field after him. One thing I thought was pretty good, I think I may have mentioned to Pat, that they also brought in Bergen Catholic AD Jack McGovern and had him also make a talk, in Tony's honor, because Jack had played under Tony at Bergen Catholic. I think that was pretty impressive that they did that. And it was a nice event. You know, his kids spoke, and it was great for him. I think he was excited more about just playing the game than really having the field named after him. And we got a pretty exciting game. You know, it looked like we thought at halftime Jones was able to score a TD when they were going to run the clock out to go up by 10 points, 20-10. And we felt at halftime, hey, if Joe scores again, they're going to probably win the game, no doubt. But that didn't happen, and Bergen went on to score 14 points. Anthony Corbin was a star, I thought, of the game in a game-winning drive. He had an interception, and then later on that drive, after they took the possession, he went on a wildcat and scored a 10-yard run. So Anthony Corbin really stepped up, because also Ramir Johnson had gone down. You had our friend McKenzie was on the sideline, but he didn't come out. It looked like he was going to play, but I think that was the distraction. He was all suited up, running around at warm-ups. McKenzie never came out on the field. But Anthony Corbin really stood out and stepped up in a big way on defense and offense and enabled them. You know, Andrew Boll had a good game. A couple good passes to Garrett Cody. So it was an all-around good game and team effort. We did get the coach after the game as well, so got Anthony some post-game interviews.
Are you taking my job? I'm the guy who sets up the interviews around here, Brian Carr.
I'm sorry.
So without further ado, let's hear from Anthony Corbin.
Brian Carr here with North Jersey Sports. I'm up at St. Joe's. I'm here with Anthony Corbin, Sr.
Yep.
Talk about the game.
You know, we started off a little slow, and then, you know, we went in at halftime and kind of just got ourselves together and talked about things we need to work on and came out and just executed the second half.
So what did you do different? What do you think you did different in the second half? You're down by 10 points. You had to score 14 points to make up the difference. What did you guys do? Anything special? Step it up? You talk together as a team?
We just played together, you know. We pride ourselves in being the toughest team in America, so we just played harder than the other team, played tougher. And the end result shows why.
How does it feel winning here at Joe's Field?
It feels great. It feels great. You know, last year we played them at home and we won, but I mean, there's nothing like going away to St. Joe's and giving them a loss.
Okay, good stuff there, Brian, with Anthony Corbin. And then a segment that is becoming all too familiar around here. Brian Carr, Jimmy, picture it. He's got all his equipment. He likes to walk, so he takes the long route up to the press box. He looks around before he opens the door to see if anybody's looking. Then he sneaks in, slams it shut behind him, and corners John Francola and Larry LaFreary and makes them talk about the game that he just covered. So, always interesting to get the WCTV take on games that they televise and commentate on. Let's hear Brian Carr's impressions of Bergen Catholic St. Joseph Regional with the aforementioned Larry and John.
Brian Carr here, North Jersey Sports. I'm here up at St. Joe's after an exciting 24-20 victory for Bergen, and I'm here with Larry LaFreary and John Francola from WCTV who did the game. So Larry and John, exciting game. Bergen was trailing at halftime by 10, 20-10, and really dominated the second half, scoring 14 points. What do you guys think was the difference in the game today that helped Bergen?
Anthony Corbin. I mean, to come in for Ramir Johnson and play. We had him having 6 carries in 5 games. He came in, had about a half a dozen carries and ran the way he did and scored on the final touchdown, that 10-yard run. Great blocking, jumbo blocking. I think the difference was Corbin. Bergen their defensive coaches made a couple of adjustments. They didn't let the running backs hit the gaps and get in the secondary, or get on the edge and get into the secondary. So those two things happened, and Bergen shut them out in the second half.
Right.
I think the Bergen quarterback in the second half, it was a tale of two halves. Second half, he was fantastic. He hit the people, he made the plays, and with that, you know, it spelled a victory for Bergen Catholic.
Hey, this was Tony Carson's day, and I know you guys did a nice show, WCTV, and a nice YouTube video. Just talk about what it means to you guys that Tony Carson stay here.
Well, it brings back a lot of memories. I know a lot more emotional, Tony, than for us, but we were here in 1988 doing games and the championship games and all the games they played at Bergen Catholic here and back at St. Joe's. And to see him be honored like this is really something that, it was an emotional, and I had a few chills when he started to break down, because I know how important and what this must mean to him that this field was named after him, because he mentioned that his friend and mentor, Tom Delatorre, had the field named after him and how emotional he was. So I'm sure Tony Carson's emotional today, and it was something that we go back 30 years with him and a lot of good memories with a great, great coach and a great man.
John, your thoughts?
You know, when we did that show that took a couple of months really to get it done, it was unbelievable how much that individual was a big player in football in New Jersey, in the country. And I think when we showed him that video, I still say it, that to me, the video, 1989, when you had Scarlatta,
on this field, right.
when Scarlatta on this field, when Tony Carson took the helmet, put his arm around, like I'm putting my arm around Larry, and he brought that kid, and now that kid is a coach in Georgetown. He epitomizes what coaching is all about. You do it by the numbers. You do it the right way. There's no drugs and all this. And he's a father. Everybody who came to the school over those years is part of Tony's life.
Two other things. Also, Jack McGovern, who was a player under him at Bergen. Jack talked a little
Jack
bit. What
spoke
your thoughts
about
that?
it. We did the interview with Bergen Catholic when we did the show, conversation with Tony Carson. Jack had tears in his eyes. And then you think about it. Well, Tony said there were 722 players that came by. Now think about this. 722 players he had an effect on. Those people took what Tony taught them, and they went out and talked to people. So you're looking at a geometric progression here for my mathematics majors, and it's thousands of people that Tony Carson's philosophy has influenced. So he had a big mark in Bergen County, a real big mark.
Last but not least, I know you're going to go talk to Coach Campanelli, but next week on Thursday night, you guys are getting honored, Westwood Hall of Fame. Go ahead. I know you guys are speechless. You don't have much to say. But,
well, you know, we're going to play it by the numbers. We're hoping it would last.
Brian, you, Jimmy, Pat, and many of you people who come with us and we work together know how important that the people in back of us, how much part they play.
Yeah.
We will accept this award on behalf of WCTV.
Correct.
And the volunteers of today who came in the past 35 years ago, who help us constantly. They make us look good. They make all our mistakes that sometimes cut out.
Right.
So without them, without the volunteers, we wouldn't be standing on this
Correct.
field.
That's exactly right. Well, we're as good as the people. And I'll tell you right now, we wanted, when this award was given, give it to everybody. Everybody in WCTV. We have fun fooling around in front of them, talking about it, but they're the ones that make us what we are.
We'll take it home for them.
thanks a lot, guys. Great job.
All right, Brian, good stuff there with Larry and John. Now it has come time to wrap things up here. Jimmy, anything we missed, A, and B, what's your plan for the weekend?
Just like to mention, you big boy public football, you mentioned in the Super Conference. How about the Kennedy Knights going out and beating Passaic County Tech? You know, Passaic Patterson football has been down for quite some time, and that's certainly a jolt of excitement in Patterson. Kennedy seems to be much, much improved. You mentioned wanting to reach out into Passaic County, so that that hit me immediately. One more thing, Corey, I just wanted to mention Don Bosco losing a tough overtime game against St. Peter's. 3 or 4 weeks ago, St. Peter's took care of Bergen very easily. We were ready to give them the title as the champion, and Don Bosco gave them everything they wanted. Messiah Maynor obviously led St. Peter's back and scored the touchdown on a run to win it in overtime. But, Don Bosco is knocking on the door as far as trying to get into that elite level of St. Joe's, Bergen, and Peters. And in a one-on-one situation in a playoff game, I would not want to play Don Bosco.
Yeah, absolutely. And, second year under head coach Mike Teal, he's, starting to put a stamp on the program. You can see it improving. And, a force to be reckoned with, as you would expect. So it looks like Bosco's back after a very short hiatus. Bri. Oh, no, Jimmy, where are you going this week?
Probably going to go with Brian to watch, Wayne Hills Ramapo, which for the better part of 15 years was the premier game in the NBIL. Ramapo, Wingfield, obviously we saw him against Riverdale get banged up with his wrist, amongst other things. Brian mentioned he did not play. I have a feeling he will be available on Friday night. Wayne Hills is a mystery team. Njoku, Sharkey, the quarterback transfer from Verona. So it'll be interesting to see Wayne Hills. They've been flying under the radar a little bit, so that'll be interesting. Was also thinking about seeing Mawa possibly Friday night with their outstanding junior quarterback, Mr. Teal, and Westwood. Westwood, with their losses, 2 losses right now, is still sitting second in PowerPoint. So if they can sneak that win out against Mawa, that'll certainly help them for a home playoff game. On Saturday, thinking about the possibility of going down with Mike Quick to watch a game down in the Shore. Matter Day, who's very talented, against Manasquan. Matter Day would be probably the contender to DePaul's Group 3 title, so an opportunity possibly to see that.
Cool. Bri, same question to you. What did we miss and where you going? Well, you answered. Friday night's already been answered for you.
Friday night, I'm planning to go there. And, Jimmy, I'd like the Westwood to be up with our guys at WCTV who are doing that game up at Westwood against Mawa. But other thing on the non-public is DePaul, who is quietly in the background, creeping their way up to the top of the ranking. DePaul are going to have a couple big games coming up. They got to play Bosco, and then they play Bergen. So we're going to get some more shakeout on who's who here in the big conference. So I'm looking. I think that Bergen-DePaul game should be pretty good on the 27th. And DePaul plays Hudson Catholic late, I think, on Saturday. I think it's a 4:00 start in Cave and Point down there. So, but DePaul is hiding. The quarterback, they had a sub quarterback come in for Taekwon Roberson, and they didn't miss a beat there when they beat Peter. So DePaul, we'll have to watch those guys, but they aren't in the non-public 3, so they're not going to end up they'll have their own bracket in the playoffs. But in the Power Conference, Super Football Conference, they're going to make some noise. Should be fun.
I should have checked to see if Boston College had a bye week this week, because if they do, Brian, maybe Vinny DePalma would be back. You could, do a Bryce Jacob type "Where Are They Now" interview with the heart and soul of the Spartans.
He would do heart and soul. He would do it. Oh yeah, he's a good kid. He's a nice young man. So I think he's on the field too. He's been on the field with him. He's been on the field.
Yes.
I think he made tackle. So
good
for him.
Corey, one more thing real quick. We talked about DePalma at DePaul. His younger brother is a junior at Wayne Valley.
Really?
Had a big game for them. Yeah, had a big game for them. And his dad, who was the defensive coordinator, John DePalma, former head coach at a bunch of places, is coaching with Roger Cutler this year at Wayne Valley. Wayne Valley appears to be a team that's won their last couple of games in a row. They seem to be on the way up, too. So another DePalma in Wayne playing this time for the public school.
Yep, and Wayne Valley will host Old Japan this week, which got back on the winning ways last week, too. So that's one of the Old Japan coming off a bye. So that's a under-the-radar game, too, that could be pretty competitive as well. But you guys have footballed me out over the last 24 hours now. Tonight we went Sans Cigars, Sans Shed, Sans Italian Wine, but I think we had to catch up on some things. I got some notes to myself of future guests that we have to have on the show. Tom Curry Jr. leading the list there. That's going to make me feel old when he does come on, too, because when I started NorthJerseySports.com, I believe, we started in 1999, and it was right around that time. It was either 99, 2000, or 2001 when he was the point guard on the Dwight Englewood boys basketball team playing for his old man down at Dwight Englewood, and they made the Bergen County Final Four. So to see, the job he's done, really, I'm upset that I haven't thought of having him on sooner. So I'm going to get that done, and I'm going to go take a nap. We will see you next week on The Football Show.
Follow the leader.